There we are, and we are now recording. Oh, and of course, I have lost my slides. There we go. A quick overview of what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to have these welcome slides and introductions, personal branding presentation by Dr. Denise Walters, a short Q&A session, a personal branding activity, and some quick closing remarks. Sorry, I'm trying to stay out of the way of my slides here. All right. So welcome everyone to the Virginia Younger Chemists Committee. I think everyone, nope, we have a few new people joining us tonight. So we are younger leaders transforming the world through chemistry. Our mission is to empower, support, and advocate for all younger chemists as they develop and advance their professional lives. Our mission is to empower, support, and advocate for younger chemists as they advance through their career. And our goals are to communicate the value of Virginia ACS YCC, build a supportive chemistry community in Virginia, and yes, provide professional and leadership development resources. The Virginia ACS YCC Executive Committee, some of us are here in the room tonight. We have Ashley Armstrong-Boz, or well, I guess I can introduce myself first. Hi, I'm Ashley Tubbs. I'm the chair of the Virginia YCC. Our vice chair is Carissa Hunter. Our secretary, Brandy Ford, is joining us on Zoom tonight. Our treasurer, Ashley Armstrong-Boz, is joining us in person. Our marketing communications team chair, Dr. Julian Bob, is joining us on Zoom. Our membership engagement team chair, Casey Laudadio, is not with us tonight. And our events team chair, Ian Smith, is with us as well in person tonight. So a little bit of how we fit into the larger ACS. So we specialize in providing resources and leadership development to younger chemists, whether that is somebody in high school, undergrad, grad school, starting out their career, or getting a little further into their career, into their mid-career. We offer programming to connect younger chemists to each other and to the larger ACS, one of which is the Virginia Local Section ACS. We meet monthly during the spring and fall semesters. Our next meeting is actually tomorrow at U of R. We provide funding to committees and local chemistry initiatives such as the YCC. So we cannot exist without the Virginia ACS, the local STEAM camps, and the Project Seed that runs in graduate research laboratories in the summer. The larger ACS, which we are also a part of, offers career services, professional development opportunities, scholarships and grants, chemistry communities, meetings and events, and more. For anyone who is not a member and is interested in becoming a member, undergraduates are $25 a year, graduate students are $55 a year, and recent grads are $40 to $80 a year. That is for premium membership where you get all of the stuff listed at the top. Basic membership where you kind of just get the CNN newsletter and access to the chemistry community is absolutely free. All right, I'm hoping that this is going to work out well. I would like everyone in person and on Zoom to do a short introduction. Your name, where you're from, where you work and study. We will skip the volunteer experience because it's an older slide deck. And I forgot to remove that. And what does your personal brand communicate about you right now? Let's see. I can go first. I'm Ashley Tubbs. I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana. I'm here for grad school at VCU, and I study electrochemistry in Dr. Alvarez's lab. My personal brand right now, I think, communicates leadership, or at least I hope it does. We'll find out when we do the personal branding activity today. Cheyenne, would you like to go next?
Okay. My name is Cheyenne. I am from the Virginia Beach area of Virginia. I study here at VCU with Ashley at Dr. Alvarez's lab. And I think my personal brand indicates, oh, I am not sure at all. So I'm just gonna pass that
Undefined.
on to Jason.
We get you some words by the end of this session. Hey everyone, my name is Ashley Armstrong-Boz. I'm originally from Virginia Beach, but I work for DuPont in the quality department. My brand, I'd say authenticity and impact.
I'm also from Virginia Beach.
Nice.
I'm an undergraduate commercial major in biochemistry. Personal brands, I put exploration includes some those country want to go into. And
Ian, go for it.
Ian, here in Richmond. So there's that. I work in our carpenters lab and I have for the last 2 years. And personal brand, to me, I guess it communicates how I present myself to others and how I show myself to the scientific community, stuff like that.
Awesome.
Plus, I'm having issues
Oh, gotcha.
getting so.
I will troubleshoot while we have our online people go. That's okay. Let's see. And then Brandy, I'm going to go ahead and unmute on this computer if you'd like to go ahead and go.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Brandy Ford. I've lived in Richmond for the past 5 years now. I currently work at Afton Chemical, not that far from VCU, in the customer technical service department. As far as my personal brand, I am unsure right now, but I'm hoping that this session will help me figure out what my personal brand is.
Excellent. Thank you. And we will pass it off to Brittany if you'd like to go ahead. If you can't unmute, it's totally fine. Just throw it in the chat.
Yeah, my name's Brittany. I'm an undergrad studying chemistry at VCU, originally from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I have no idea what a personal brand is, so I don't know what mine is.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we'll help you define that tonight. Let's see. Julian, would you like to go?
Hi everyone, Julian Bob. I'm from the Richmond area and I've recently finished up my postdoctoral research fellow appointment at VCU, Department of Chemical and Life Science Engineering. So my research there was primarily on biomass conversion, finding ways to make sustainable polymers and sustainable chemicals from plant waste. And also regarding personal brand, I think I would say mine is leadership and service.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's see. Ripa, would you like to go?
Hello everyone, I'm Ripa Sehgal. I'm originally from India. I live in Bridgewater, Virginia, and I am a biochemist in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at Bridgewater College. Okay, so my personal brand is, I would say, mentoring undergraduate students for research so that they can get experience of real research as soon as possible in their academic journey. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. And let's see. Dr. Walters, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself while I get our slide deck switched over?
Sure. I do actually have an introduction slide, so we'll get to that. But I'm Denise Walters. I'm the stability lead at Haleon. While she's setting that up, I'll tell you what a stability lead does, because a lot of people go, what does that mean? If you have a bottle of medicine like Advil and you look at the expiration date that's on there, somebody had to design a study, set it up, and then as everything is pulled out, send it out to get tested, and do all the various different tests that we call the critical attributes. And then we do statistical analysis to figure out what expiration date to put on the bottle. That's what my team does. And now we have the slides. So thank you for coming here. Thank you for being here. I hope that I can address some of the questions that came in advance and also address some of the questions that were sent online. But I think it's a very important topic, and I'm really glad that you're all here working on the personal brand. And I want to thank you, Ashley and the YCC for setting this up. Next slide, please. So I'll start out with who am I? Again, I gave you my name, Denise Walters. I've been working in drug development for over 30 years, with 24 of it in the consumer space. I have a BS in chemistry from VCU, as well as a PhD in pharmacy. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, but I ended up kind of going into this career because it was one thing that I learned that I loved after another, and that's where my journey went. However, my job is not all of who I am. I'm also the chair of the Science Museum Board of Trustees. I also chair the Nottoway Indian Tribe of Virginia Tribal Council, and I'm on the executive committee for the ACS as an ad hoc. So lots of different things, and you'll see here, I also like to do public speaking, and I quilt, and this is one of my chemistry story quilts. So I'm a story quilt artist, and you'll see a little bit more about that, but that's kind of my intro. If you look here, my brand is product stability, analytical sciences, public speaking, and story quilt art. I know it's kind of weird, it's all over the place, but that's who I am. So next slide. Today, we want to talk, though, about how you're going to brand your story, and you can click that. So we're going to talk about why personal branding is important, why it's important. We're going to talk a little bit more about how do you develop that story, and then how you build that brand once you've figured out what the story is you want to tell. Because like writing a book, you've got to figure out what's your story. And then we're going to talk about how you continue the journey, because your brand is always evolving because you're always evolving. And then we'll summarize it all. So Jeff Bezos, I'm sure you guys all know who he is because we all are on our phones ordering stuff from Amazon every day. He famously quoted as saying, "Your brand is what people say about you when you were not in the room." And there's always somebody who's talking about you when you're not in the room. Whether you're at a job interview, you already work at a company, and they're talking about your performance, they're talking about when's the next opportunity. So you want people to be thinking about you and thinking good things about you. You're not in the room. So first of all, when you see this slide, what's your first thought if you were searching on LinkedIn and you found one that looks like this? Yes.
Person doesn't exist.
Yep, ghost. Other thoughts? What if the person actually had maybe one thing on here later on, but yeah.
Picture would make it not look like a spam account.
Spam account, yeah, exactly. Anybody online have any thoughts? Nothing online. Okay, you can go ahead to the next slide. Yes, if I see this, I'm thinking it's a spam account, or either somebody just doesn't care, they don't know what they're doing, they're not involved, they're not active. So if I'm trying to connect with people that I think will have value and we're going to work on something together, I'm not clicking on this one. So your personal brand is really your first impression. You'll have no idea. You might have a meeting coming up with somebody, and they may go Google you, they may go on LinkedIn. They're looking to see what that brand is. So having a brand is that first impression that you're giving to anybody, whether you're walking into a room or whether you're online. And no matter where you are, you want to be telling a compelling story. Whether it's your 2-minute elevator speech that says, "This is who I am, this is what I'm all about," whether it's the first image they see when they go to your LinkedIn or your Facebook page, your Instagram, or whatever you've chosen as your means of communication, because there's usually many, you still want to make that strong first impression. Also, you want to put in there what communicates your credibility, because you want people to think, how do I want to interact with that person? Because everything we do is all about relationships. Whether you're working in a job, in a team, whether you're trying to get something done, whether you're hiring somebody, whether you want to be hired, it's all about relationship. and you want someone to be in relationship with you, which means you want to draw them in. And this will eventually have big impact on your career because all of those relationships, connections, open doors for you, short-term and long-term. And I put this little quote in here in this career builder survey. They said 70% of employers use social media to do the searching to figure out, do we want to talk to this person? Do we want to engage more? So think about what's out there on social media, because that can have an impact. And I'll tell you, even when I applied for my position on the Board of Trustees, it's a gubernatorial appointment. And one of the questions was, give us a list of all of the social media accounts that you own or manage, because they were going to look at all of that. Wow, they really do look. You already have a brand, whether you know it or not. If you haven't been working on it, doesn't matter, because anytime you do something, say something, you have an account, somebody says something about you, it can show up on social media. And so you want to look at these different platforms, but especially the platforms that you use to see how do you show up. So you want to Google yourself and say, what's in the first 10 pages or so? What's showing up about me? Because your job is to own this narrative. You don't want someone else to own this narrative. Or you don't want it to look like that ghost where, you looked and there's nothing there. So we're going to talk about how do you build that narrative. Next. So Daniel Pink is a thought leader in business that I really like, because he brings together art and science and business. And so in this particular quote, he says that the most important things when you're thinking about what you want for your brand is, what are you great at? What do you love to do? And how can you use those things to make an imprint on the world? What's your value? And I'm sure that all of us can think about something like that. So let's just pause for a moment. Can I have somebody in the room tell me something they absolutely love to do? Crocheting. Okay.
I like to work on cars.
Working on cars. Golfing.
Baking.
Baking. So all of those are things that we're passionate about. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's not. Maybe it may be a career at a different time in your life. You never know. But think about those things that make you yourself. And how does that relate to what message you want to have, what you want to do in life, what do you want to deliver? It's not always cut and dry. I tell people I changed my major here at VCU 6 times before I decided to do chemistry. Still graduated on time, but it was a crazy ride. Go ahead. So the first thing is building the story. And we start with those things that Daniel talked about. What are you good at? What do you love? What do you really like to do? But also, what have you already done? So if you're working in chemistry, you're doing research, you've already done some research. What have you been researching on? Have you been published? You want to put that in the story about who you are. How can you leave an imprint on the world? What's the value of the work that you did? What might that have impact on later? Maybe it's one step, but then there's other things that will probably come after it that may have bigger impact than just the piece you did in your own research. What do you want people to know about you? So when they look at that LinkedIn page, Facebook page, what's the first thing they're going to think? What are your values? What's really important to you? Especially because employers are not only looking at what have you done or what training you've had, because we may have a whole stack of 80 people who have a chemistry degree. But how do you think on your feet? How confident are you? How comfortable are you with ambiguity and figuring things out on your own? All those types of things are who you are and what makes you you and how you process. And you want to be able to figure out how can you relay some of that in the various different spaces that you have to communicate. And last of all, but not least, because this is very important, who do you want to tell your story to? Who's your audience? Because your story may change if your audience is changing. For instance, if I'm talking about, personal branding and chemistry, then I'm likely to show up in a suit. If I'm talking about my Native American culture, I may show up in a ribbon dress or leather or something that's signaling to the community that I'm talking about the piece of my essence that I am talking to for that particular audience. So always consider who's your audience. Once you've got that kind of all sketched out, then you want to condense it down, because most of the time you're not writing a war and peace. You want to figure out, how am I going to make this digestible, but still get the message across quickly? So you need to condense that down so that you can figure out how to frame it in each of the modules, because maybe you need a very short story for your elevator speech, because that really shouldn't be more than 2 minutes. Maybe you need a longer story if you're going to have it as, this is the blurb that you see at the first part of your LinkedIn, but you want to put more information on the LinkedIn page. And of course, Instagram has to be like super short. So where are you going to put it? So you start out thinking about, okay, what is my mission? What's the thing that I value? What am I about? Because you want that to be front and center. This is me, this is what I'm about, this is the value I bring to you. Next, what are your credentials? What's your experience? Why should somebody say, you're the person I want to talk to because you have the skill or this talent that I want to take advantage of or partner with? And then what are the values? Why do you do what you do? How trustworthy are you? How reliable? Can I count on you? And then the endorsements. Who else believes in you? Who supports you? So think about all of those things and kind of sketch those as you can. So next, once you've got that all done, then you start going ahead and building. So you might want to figure out which social media you want to work with first. LinkedIn is usually heavily used by professionals, industry, different various charitable organizations, professional development organizations. Facebook is more personal, but there are some professional and political organizations that use Facebook as well. Instagram, that's used more by artists and entertainers, and I didn't list everything. TikTok is out there, so there's always something, whether it's old or new, that you can use. Blogs are good because you can maybe reach a particular targeted audience that is looking for something on a topic. So if you want to become an expert in a particular topic or share your expertise, maybe the blog is where you want to do it. Then of course you have YouTube channels where you can have recorded content. And it's nice because people have different ways of seeing you there, where they can see how well can you speak, how comfortable are you in front of a camera, how do you communicate. And the nice thing is it could even have some income potential. And then last, but again, not least, is a personal website. You can have a personal website where people can engage in more depth in things that you do, the research you've done, who you're about, and especially if you are trying to create business in some way, having that personal website is critical. Thanks. So the first thing is, what's that visual image that you portray when you first go out there? And so I just Googled myself and said, okay, well, what's showing up here? So does anybody want to say what they think about me and my brand when you look at that list of pictures? Because that might not be what you were expecting from a camera. Thoughts? Anybody online? Yes.
Have more than one interest, like you have multiple places where you're seeing.
Yeah, in a community. Yeah, exactly. Anything else?
Rupa Segal from the chat says that you would be a positive person, assuming because of how many pictures show that you're smiling.
Yes, yes, that makes a big difference. Any other thoughts?
I have a couple that are working, so I would just be either a consumer of the arts or a someone that presents the arts, uplifts the arts.
Yes, yes. Actually, I'm a story quilt artist as well. So you got that much just by looking at photographs. So remember that when you're creating a brand, you are going to have photographs that show up different places. And you can control that narrative of what shows up. So one, you want to make sure that you have a good professional headshot so that you've got that professional image out there. But then think about what other things you're doing. Where are you? What are you doing? Where could it potentially be seen? And a lot of times, and what's your impact? And a lot of times you need to drive that. In fact, before we're done, I'm going to ask Ashley to take my picture so that I can have a picture of myself standing in front of slides giving this talk so that I've got something that I can post later on, because you want to create that visual record of your activities and then post those so that you can control that narrative. So just a few tips on doing the headshot. I really recommend going and getting a professional headshot because it comes out really good. You get good lighting. There are lots of places you can go that it's not very expensive. Make sure that you kind of thought about it and pick colors that look good for you, because different colors look good on different people. So get something that looks really nice, that has some nice contrast. Make sure that your hair looks neat. Make sure that your face is washed or makeup so that it doesn't have too much shine. And I saw this the other day. I hadn't thought about that. Pushing your glasses back on your nose will make sure that glasses aren't sitting so that they block your eyes. And then the smile, you mentioned the smile. You want to have a genuine, warm smile because you want people to feel that you're approachable and engaging. And I can tell you firsthand, there have been days when people took a picture that I was not having my best day. And I knew I needed to smile, but that smile was forced, and oh, you could tell it was not good. And there was one time it was in a newspaper, and I'm going, oh, I've got that smile that's my smile in the newspaper. This is not good. So just try and remember, take a deep breath, even if you feel stressed, you know you're going to be taking a picture. Breathe and just smile and think about something that makes you think I'm going. And that will give you that good, genuine smile that you need. Next. So next, what's the story you want to tell? And that's creating that mission statement that we talked about. And I put this example from my cousin here. She's the site quality lead for a company called Cell and Gene Therapy. And she talks about being a problem solver and gene therapy product approved leader and inspection readiness. So those are the three things she wants people to know about her. And then in her site, she talks about a value proposition. And I won't read this all, but she talks about the solid management that she delivers, quality systems. So you know right up in the very beginning of her LinkedIn post, this is what she's about. And then you can page through and read more detail, and she has more detail. But the key thing she wants you to see show up at the very, very beginning of her page. This is another fellow that I wanted to show you, and he's a really interesting guy. He used to work with me at the Science Museum, or he worked there. I was just on the board. But he came in as a scientist there. He did a lot of research on heat maps, and it was a collaborative project that he did with another city, and they wrote a paper. Well, it didn't stop with paper. They also did collaborations with other universities, with communities. They started talking about it not only within the Science Museum, but posting online. And then all the stories started coming out. And the big thing that he noticed was that the heat maps overlap the redlining areas. So now this was not just a story about climate. This was a social justice story in addition. So he was able to build that story, and those maps that you see in the background, those are the heat maps from his research. So he's already telling you about who he is and his research by the image that he's got. Then when you see his brand there, he's a transdisciplinary climate scientist and award-winning environmental educator. So you know what he's about, you know what he's done, and then you start looking down into it and he starts going into, here's my experience. And then this was something I really liked, because sometimes people will just list, here are my titles and here's companies I worked for. He's gone in and put a line about what did he deliver while he worked there, and he put some pictures in, again, drawing you in. So not everybody has to do it the same way, but he's done these things to draw in. And also he's made sure that he's got lots of connections in the community. So again, if you're looking for somebody that's well connected, you'd say, he's doing amazing things. He's showing you what he did, and he's well connected. I want to talk to this guy. So the next thing is endorsements and recommendations, because sometimes people are looking at, do other people respect what you're doing? Do they value what they're doing? Do they have something good to say? And what do they have good to say? What characteristics? So you can go and talk to people and say, hey, would you be willing to endorse me? So you can see this person here has a number of different endorsements. So people have gone in and checked off and said they endorse for the things that they said they were good at. And in addition, people have given them referrals and said, I worked with this person, I trust this person, they do good work. So always remember to make sure to fill out those endorsements, ask people you know to give an endorsement, but also be willing to give an endorsement back, because it goes two ways, and we need to support each other. And that's also how you build relationships, is being both willing to ask for help as well as give. Next thing is creating a blog. So there are a lot of different types of blogs out there. So the first thing is, what is it that you want to blog about? There's some that are industry specific. So maybe if I was looking for my area, which is consumer health, maybe there's something about consumer products or dietary supplements. Maybe I want to do a blog on that. Is it skill enhancement? Are you somebody who wants to talk about how you code? You're telling me about coding. So maybe if you all of a sudden were an amazing coder, you want to talk about coding and build a reputation there, you could blog on that. So there are all these different topics that you can look for and figure out, how does the story that you want to tell tie into one of these topics, so that you can start to create that persona and be known for something. And you never know where that might take you in a career. Let's see, was there one more? Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
Go back. Yeah, I did want to make something. Although you do have to remember with blogs that, again, everything you say or connect to will show up online. So just be careful and think about what you're saying before you put it down, because it does show up and it may come back to bite you. If it's not correct, it's not right. Write it with AI without checking the results. Although, just go back one more time. I do want to say, this was actually my first experience with AI. I did an AI search on this, I edited it, I checked a couple of things, and then I did the slides. And then let's talk about creating your own website. So I picked Dr. Merkin because he was a scientist I heard speak at one of the ACS meetings at the University of Richmond. We talked about that earlier. Fabulous, fabulous scientist. And what was really cool is some of the work that he was talking about with nanoparticles, I ended up seeing them refer to this in some of the papers on the work that they were doing on developing COVID-19 vaccines. And so I'm going, wow, I just heard him speak, and now I'm seeing his work being applied when they're doing research. This is awesomely cool stuff. And as you can tell, he's got his act together here. Nice picture. He's got a nice outline. He's got up here the publications, his key inventions, his patents, but then he's also got more detail about the different types of work that he's been doing, whether it's nanomedicine or programmable nanomaterials. And so if you can go to the next slide. What I really liked, and I didn't want to go through and try and play online here, but if you click through his site, you'll see that it's all very engaging, and you can learn a lot about the science he's doing just by going through his site. It's pages and pages of topic, nice illustrations that draw you in, nice explanation. He's got embedded videos. So there's so much that you can do with your own website if you're trying to convey to someone, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and this is why you want to work. And then we talked about the YouTube channel. And we're going back to Jeremy Hoffman again, because one of the things that's nice with the Science Museum is they had a lot of different YouTube videos. But you can do a YouTube video that's personal, or you can do a YouTube video for a particular organization. And that gives you visibility, that gives you that presence that people may not see otherwise, so they can see what you look like in action. And again, there may be some earning potential if you do have your own channel. Continuing the journey. So this is not a one and done. Just because you put it all together, it doesn't mean that you're finished. Branding is a lifetime job because you're changing, your skill sets are changing, interests are changing, the type of jobs that you've done are changing. Especially now, even in industry, we always talk more about it not necessarily being a ladder. I had a leader that talked about it being a jungle gym, and maybe you climb over here and you climb over here. So you're doing different things, and you want to always be updating your story and talking about all the different things you're doing, the new skills you're learning, the things that you're developing. So you always want to be, one, checking those search engines at least, once a year or once every 6 months or something. How are you showing up? Because if you don't know how you're showing up, then how do you drive it? You also want to make sure that you're posting frequently. Doesn't mean that you put something out there every day. Because if you put something out there too frequently, I think either people don't see it or they can kind of get fatigue. It's like, oh, here we go, that person again. But, if you post something, when you do something that you consider worth talking about, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, but, find something that you've got and make sure that it's got a visual image. And then, update again on that continuous education. So how many people have heard about I Am Remarkable? Nobody? So this is an organization that is focused on helping people feel comfortable telling their stories. Because sometimes people don't recognize how remarkable they are, or they feel like it's bragging, so they're not comfortable saying, well, this is what I did. And the organization focuses on helping you to be able to tell your story and your value, because if you don't tell it, nobody else is telling it for you. So if you think that one day your boss will just happen to notice how hard you're working, get you to that next level, don't keep holding your breath, it's gonna take longer. So you have to drive your own career, and that's being able to tell that story. So do something, and do something that's aligned with the message that you're trying to deliver. If you want somebody to know that you're a fantastic chemist, then you do something that's fantastic, that's related to chemistry, and you create an image, take a picture, draw a picture, do a diagram, something that's got a visual that brings you in, and then post it somewhere. Whether it's social media, whether it's in your own company, social media, because companies have those, and then, or have a friend post it if you're uncomfortable about putting it out there yourself. But get out there and tell the story. It's not bragging if it's the truth. So just in summary, create your brand. You want to stand out from the crowd. So your brand has impact. You control the narrative. Build the brand deliberately. Keep your message consistent and keep it updated. And that's my lecture, and I'm open to any questions.
I do have one question.
Okay.
Said that people look up your social media accounts online. For someone that either doesn't have many social accounts or has been absent from social media for a number of years, is this a negative connotation to those looking for those accounts, or is it a positive?
I don't know that it's a negative. I think the thing is that you want to make sure that whatever shows up is what you want to show. So if what's showing up is, you know, maybe there's your job title somewhere and that you want to see. Doesn't show that you're very active, and it depends on the employer what they're looking for. So if they're looking for somebody who's a chemist, maybe they don't have a strong preference about where you show up. If you're looking for somebody who's going to be working in media and you're not doing it, then you're going, okay, we're not interested because this comms person isn't in touch. So it just depends, I think, on what they're looking for, who they're looking for. So you don't have to post a lot of stuff unless you're trying to drive those connections. But part of it is the connection. Yeah, if you're looking to build a network, sometimes when you're trying to look for job friends, if people randomly come and ask you, never met them before, you don't know them 16 ways from Sunday, it's like, oh, here's 7 more people asking you. You're not up to the top. But if you had connected with someone, saw something that was interesting that they were doing, reached out and said, can you tell me more about it? Maybe you got together and had coffee, maybe you talked about how you could work together on something. And then later on, there's an opportunity. They already know you, they recognize who you are. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll get the job, but you already have more of a chance because they go, oh, I know this person. I've interacted with them. And personally, advocating for the ACS, I think that's one of the beauties of the ACS is because you have an organization where you have professional people and students who all get together, talk to each other, learn from each other. And then when the same student shows up in a job interview, you go, oh yeah, I remember that person. Let's bring that person into this internship. That person really showed up. That person drove this particular initiative for younger chemistry. So it's a way to at least start that conversation and get things going. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
So I have 2 questions.
Okay.
So what would you like tell like an undergrad student to put as their brand if they don't know what their like message is yet?
So I think I would focus again on what do you like to do, what you're good at. And especially, I'm hoping that the undergrads are working on at least some kind of research project here. So talk about the research project.
My second question is, do you like expect people to have like their hobbies included in their professional kind of LinkedIn profiles, or is that just something totally separate from this, just to show kind of a diversity in what they are interested in?
So I think the diversity is nice. I don't think it's a required, but what's really nice is if you can have a synergy or something that showcases a skill. Again, the other piece of that is that networking community. So for instance, if I looked at your profile and we were talking and I saw in there that you like to do art, I go, oh, you like art too. Let's talk about art a little bit. There's already a level of comfort just because you have that shared common interest. Or it could be that somebody sees that, well, your job has been, you know, working as a chemist, but you like software programming. And what if you go, oh, you know, I need somebody who can design one of those macros in the spreadsheet that could do some of this. Could you do that? And so you never know where there may be some other connection that you might not be thinking about that someone else sees when they know more about you, who you are, and what your gifts are. Any questions online?
Yes, we have one question from Eric Kate. That's last name. Apologies. When did you discover the importance of being a visible contributor in school or after being in the industry?
Actually, that's a really interesting question. So I would say it wasn't even related to my being or my job in industry. I discovered this from the chief of my tribe because she was doing this with everything. She would go do something, deliver it, and then we'd do pictures, and then it would get posted. And then all of a sudden, one thing would lead to another, and a connection. You would find somebody offering you an opportunity, and my getting to the board of the Science Museum and becoming the chair was partially from making connections, posting things, getting to know people, and that whole thing. So I would say while I did some networking earlier career, the real change occurred from what I learned from my chief. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So thinking about our weaknesses, so somebody who's hopefully self-aware of what your weaknesses are, is that something that you would more avoid posting about or indicating that it is a weakness while you try to address it as a weakness? Or would it be better to kind of like post on there, like, I know this is a weakness and this is what I'm doing to address it without, you know, being so straightforward about it?
You know, that's an interesting question. So there's a whole movement right now around vulnerability. And for those of you who've read Brene Brown, that's a big topic she talks about. So I think you have to judge and decide, what do you want to say about it? And what's the message you're trying to deliver about it and why? So if you're trying to deliver a message about vulnerability and how you overcame something, maybe that's the story that you want to tell. But I think sometimes we tend to focus too much on the weaknesses. And there's a whole series of books that are Strength Builders and Strength Builders 2, where they talk about if you have something that you're just not good at, don't keep beating yourself up because you can't do it. Maybe what you need to do is figure out what's the mitigation. So can I get someone else to help me, or can I get to a certain level of proficiency because I have to do a minimum? Like, I got to balance the checkbook. Hate it, but I got to balance the checkbook, right? So how do you get to functional competency, but don't dwell where you're weak? Where you want to live every day is where you're strong, and you want to double down on where you're strong, because you're going to just be better and better and better. And that's how you're going to build that reputation, that brand around where the strength is. Does that help?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
And I forgot to turn on my phone.
We have one more question from the online chat. Julie Bob is asking, how do you build your personal brand at work or at school?
So I think some of it is what I was talking about before. Part of it is just what you're doing. So whether you're at work, whether you're at school, you're creating the work that you do, whether it's research, whether it's diversity inclusion, whether it's volunteering, whatever you're doing, you're creating a story. This is your personal story. And then the question is, how much of your story do you want to tell? How much of your story can you tell? Like, I work at a pharmaceutical corporate company, so I may not be able to talk as much about some of the work I'm doing, but some of it I can. So if I prioritize and say, I'd like to be able to present at a meeting on this thing, then I can write it up, travel to the meeting, do the presentation, get someone to take some pictures there. I've got a story to tell. So, and I know that you guys can do that here as students, because I think I was presenting at some type of a program for students almost the entire time I was in grad school. And I was working in research as an undergrad as well. And I know that they're the poster days, right? So you could do the poster day here, you could do a poster at the ACS, posters at the poster competition. They always have a UVA for the ACS, posters at a national meeting. So many different places you can tell the story. And that's the whole thing, is tell the story. Anything else?
All right, well, if there are no more questions, let's have one more round of applause for our speaker, or virtual applause. And with that, we'll go ahead and switch over to our activity. Let's see, our online participants, I am attempting to send an email with our activity now. You should receive that in just a moment. And yes, thank you, Ash.
During this call. Gotcha.
All right, so let's see. Brandy and Julian, I think you should have received a copy. If you would like to leave this on the Zoom call, you can go ahead and do that. I can go ahead and mute. Do you have a preference for that? I think I can hear you now if you talk.
No preference, sorry.
No, you're absolutely good. Okay, cool. I can go ahead and lead everyone through it at once. Or kind of separate the in-person and Zoom so that you guys can lead through. We're just gonna kind of spend a few moments on each. And if anybody wants to share, then they can. And then since it is being recorded, I was gonna go ahead and share the screen with the activity. So that people could work through it themselves. If they watch the recording later. All right. So if anyone would like to work with somebody else, you are more than welcome to get up and move or unmute and chat. So our first question is, where do you feel you are in your personal brand journey? So I know that when we did our introductions at the beginning, a lot of people said that they maybe have no personal brand, or they have some idea, but it's not super well defined. So this is kind of just your initial thoughts on where you are right now. And I'm pretty sure everyone's already finished with number one. So number two is to kind of just take a moment and reflect on your strengths, weaknesses, and unique skills. So kind of just thinking on what hard or soft skills am I strong at that I might want to include in my personal brand? What am I maybe not so strong at that I either want to improve later on or that I maybe just don't want to advertise? And what are some unique skills that I have? It can be chemistry related or non-chemistry related. If you enjoy crocheting or working on cars, for example, that might end up on your list. Would anyone in person or virtual be interested in sharing any of their strengths or unique skills or thoughts on any of them? Cool. Moving on to number 3. I feel like a lot of people are working through this by themselves, and that is totally fine. All right, so number 3 is to kind of just take a moment and think about your values and what you love to do. So as Dr. Walters was saying, what are you passionate about? What is something that you are going to enjoy regardless of where you are in your career? Or let's see. Yes, some ideas include like diversity in STEM. So I'm really passionate about providing workshops for younger chemists so that we can all learn about personal branding or creating a CV resume, getting younger chemists involved in the YCC and the ACS. Would anybody be interested in sharing what they enjoy doing? If not, it's totally fine. Yes.
Creating a space to learn and interact with science in a positive way.
Ooh, I like that. Anybody else interested in share? Cool. All right, so number 4, where does your personal brand currently exist? So this might be a great time to Google yourself. I know I was looking at the slides and I was like, huh, let me just type this in real fast.
Hey, this is Eric Haight over the phone. I can go real quick.
Yeah, of course.
So after Googling myself, it not a surprise, almost exists entirely on LinkedIn. But my dad also has the same name, so there's some stuff related to him. Yeah, almost entirely LinkedIn with also like a random Flickr message in there.
Oh, interesting. So with your dad having the same name as you, is there, and this is not like calling anybody, like stuff to differentiate the two of you? I mean, I'm assuming profile pictures.
Yeah, so I think all stuff related to my dad is he's an attorney, so it's law stuff. So anybody looking at me would probably realize that I'm not an engineer and an attorney. Or I would hope.
Right.
Yeah, then actually, if you Google me, Dr. Walters is in one of the photos from Adams Up at the Science Museum,
Oh, awesome.
or up in Adams. Sorry.
Did I miss a question while I stepped out?
Not quite a question. Eric was telling
Hi,
us.
Eric.
Hello. One of the other questions was, would you endorse me on LinkedIn? I don't think that one was noted from the chat, but person.
Yeah. Well, we can talk later.
Okay. Don't want to put you on the spot.
It's not a no.
I don't know.
All right, so our final question in assessing your current personal brand is thinking about your current role as a student or an early career professional, your values and your passion. Who might your target audience be? So who are you trying to communicate your brand to?
For, in my opinion, for graduate students and for those undergraduates who aren't looking to go into graduate school, that would be more designed towards industry or places where you would shoot to work for. Trying to hit either like make yourself presentable to the HR departments if they happen to search for you in certain manners, as well as lab organizers, quality managers, depending on where we're looking at.
Excellent. Were you able to hear yourself?
Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else have any thoughts?
If you are an undergrad trying to go to grad school, you want to look good for the lab you're working in and the grad. What is it called? Yes, that's what it is.
Potentially also the grad students that could be working in the lab with.
If they find out your name before you get there.
True. Usually you have a, like, not interview, but like, you meet with them, yeah, beforehand. And then occasionally they'll talk to the professor and be like, this one was great, please accept this one. All right, so now we'll move on to more of creating or refining your personal brand. So kind of looking at your answers from the first page, your strengths, your passions, your unique skills, maybe your weaknesses. Can't read it all on screen. Is your personal brand clearly communicated in your current personal brand? So when you Googled yourself, did what you think that people should see show up? And on the off chance that what you want to communicate wasn't communicated, what was communicated? So what did you see?
I guess I don't have a brand anywhere.
Just gonna say for myself, having a very generic name, it is very hard to find myself online. I think the only thing that popped up for me, I directly typed in my name, and then also the university I went to as undergrad was my LinkedIn page. That's the only thing that showed up. I have to go back even farther to find other stuff and type in very specific things in order to find myself elsewhere. And I can't even find myself on Facebook, but that's understandable because I haven't been.
So that's fair.
See, I have a unique name and I still can't find it. So
But I think the mention that you hadn't been on Facebook for about 4 years and couldn't find anything is also showing you that the freshness piece, because it doesn't show up in the search engines if it's too old. Because I was looking for something that I got a recognition for, and I knew it showed up in a Google search like 4 years ago. I didn't find it deliberately looking for it because it's old, and so it's, I guess it's just lost to the ether sometimes. So that goes back to the fresh, everybody's looking at what you do lately.
I would say, before I got married, I had a very well, so the second last name just kind of put it out there more easier to find me. But yeah. Very generic name, like Ashley Armstrong is very the boss, just
That's that spice to make it unique.
yeah, I can find my name. I can find me no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
So having a very common name, would that be a good place to create like a, not a nickname, like a non-nickname, like we have Ken Jobber and like those really big names that you know because they're unique.
It could be where you could use, your middle name in addition, or like I use my maiden name, so all of my stuff says Denise Lowe Walters because I published under Lowe and published under Walters, and then that distinguishes me from the other Denise Walters that are out there. In fact, there's a Denise Walters that works at VCU. So,
Oh, wow.
so just try to do anything that kind of distinguishes to pull you out that this is the one and only.
Absolutely. 300 characters.
oh my goodness.
I could add my Nottoway name, but that would be too long.
There's a reason my mom put the short version of my name, not the traditional version.
What's the traditional version?
The Cheyenne, like CHEYENNE.
Okay.
My mom spelled it SHYANN. So very different.
That is a different spelling.
I've only met one other person with my spelling, and she was like 4 years younger than me. From the original.
Well, my Nottoway name is Hitachi Hikiya, so if I wrote that out, it would definitely.
You would definitely not be the Denise Walters at VCU.
Yes.
So the second question on the creating and refining your personal brand is using your assessment, well, it was above when I was online, it's now on your previous page. Create a short value statement describing your personal brand. So kind of incorporate your strengths, your unique skills, your passions to kind of create a statement that describes who you are and what your personal brand is. And it can take on any form that you would like, including if it's a LinkedIn statement.
Should have to print out, it's very confused about, it should be a paragraph, should be, should this.
You could start and think easy, like in LinkedIn, you notice underneath people's names, they just have like maybe 3 words. So it could be, what are the 3 words you want somebody to know about?
That's what I tried to do, I looked at the line and it, or just to like separate it.
And especially for somebody just starting out, like that's a perfect way to start.
Picture, I felt so bad looking at it today, I was like, oh.
Okay, but you got 1.5 more semesters.
All of my headshots have my puppy dog in it, so I don't know if that's quite what people want to see of me.
You know what? We've got a white background. We can take a headshot tonight.
There you go. Brilliant.
All right, our third question is thinking of, so this is kind of creating a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy for your personal brand. So thinking just of the next few months and your current personal brand, what 3 actions do you want to take to establish or refine your brand? Be as simple as adding a headshot to your LinkedIn profile, dedicating time each week to keeping your online presence updated, or joining a community that aligns with your values or passions. YCC. I know, I'm trying to keep it paced so that everyone online and like potentially watching a video later can keep up with it without just blazing through it.
I had to hop around, I wasn't sure how to answer some of these until I like thought about it. Some of it was really easy, some of it is like,
Who am I?
it is, it's so great.
Well, and it is a journey, so you're not gonna have all the answers from one workshop for a couple of hours. It's gonna be something that you're gonna chew on and refine. That little intro in mine, I just made a change to it yesterday. So you're always refining, you're always thinking that it's a process.
Absolutely.
I have a question. So if you're going to include something like you're an artist, would you say you're a hobby artist or just an artist? Because it's not a part of like a professional.
So if I was just doing it as a hobby, I probably wouldn't have put it at the top. I would have put it down in the separate special interest because I'm not trying to draw attention to it.
Okay.
In my particular post, the reason you see storybook artist is because when I plan on retiring, I don't know when that will be, but you know, it's not in the distant future anymore. I'm about to cross the 60-year-old threshold next month. So I'm already thinking about what do I want to do in retirement, and I really do want to do more art and storytelling and public speaking. So I have added those to the profile because I'm starting to build that portfolio of work. I'm starting to show at various different places. I've had my work in a couple of different museums in the area, and some in North Carolina and South Carolina. I've started doing lecturing about my quilts. Sometimes it's just lecturing about the quilting. Sometimes it's about the tribe's history because They're illustrative quotes that talk about our transition culture. Sometimes I've even worked chemistry in. I had one that I just did at VCU last year, talking about different science-related stories, but working quilt into each one and talking about storytelling and how important it is to storytell in our communications so that every audience can understand what you're talking about. So, you know, again, it depends on what's the story you're trying to communicate at what stage in your career. So you saw all that art-related stuff because I'm starting to navigate the shift, and I'm making the shift visible to people who are seeing it externally. And then, you know, that results in people calling me and saying, hey, lecture, and I'll give you my fee schedule. So I am making money at it. I have a business license.
Can I have you repeat that answer? It sort of got a little bit lost in the recording.
The whole answer.
Oh,
You don't have to repeat the whole answer, just like condense it maybe a little bit. It did get a little lost in the recording.
oh, okay. So the answer to the question about whether I want to talk about art early on depends on what you're trying to communicate to your audience. So in my case, it's a job on top of my day job. I am making money. I have a business license. I do art as a profession on top of being a chemist. If it was not my profession, if it was just my hobby, I wouldn't put it at the beginning. There is a section in LinkedIn where you can put hobbies and interests, and I would put it in that section. So it depends again, what are you doing? What do you want to message? I want to message, I'm available for hire, and I'll give you.
All right, so for our final question is going long-term. So thinking of the next year, what do you want your personal brand to look like? If it's going to change, what exactly do you want to change? What key actions will you take to make this change happen? And this one, the answer is formatted a little differently. I had like 3 little letters for your number 3. This one's only got 1 because the answers can be so varied. What do you want your personal brand to look like in a year?
Fine.
Yeah.
So I started working my personal brand like 10 years ago, and I found that I'm distracted by social media as well. I close all of them and become invisible for a while, but then you can find them. I have a gap when I was in 2014 as undergrad student was lab coat, and then just 1 year later was a soldier in the military. And then if you Google me, you'll find all those just pictures. And then since 2015 until now, 9 years, I'm just doing research. I end up with 9 published articles so far. And so when you Google me now, you're going to find just my Google Scholar and search Kate. But no picture, no images. My work changed a lot during that time from analysis, water treatment, sunlight energy, batteries, and I found myself in this area recently, but like I'm still just the undergrad chemist soldier in the military when you do it. So I have this gap, and I'm working how to be like good researcher, moving to making my chemistry a product. I like this. I love to like not having like theoretical science. I love when like chemists convert into like product at the end. I love when it like get some stuff that's useful for the world, so world can touch it. And like this come to mind when I like read the quote for Thomas Edison when he said, I find out what the world need, then I proceed to invent it. So the world was need like electricity bulbs. So all of the scientists before him just doing theoretical volta and so on. during physics, and then he just like convert it into products, so people touch this. So I like doing this. I feel my personal brand going to this area. Not being like in social media a lot, but when you Google me, you'll find my work there.
That's what you want, is the work.
Anybody else like to share what they'd like their personal brand to look like in the next year?
Yes, I can go.
Go for it.
I wanted to show my achievements as a student. Like, I just recently started getting into research and actually having something to show for it all. And I want to like just put myself out there, since like I know I don't really exist on the interwebs. So I kind of want to just make a name for myself.
I think you'll succeed. Brandy or Eric, either of you interested in sharing? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Hey, yeah, I can go off mute here. So what do I want my personal brand to look like? I think more diversified would be good. It's really just right now, at least if you search me, it's some LinkedIn posts and then some stuff about my dad and then some stuff about my grandfather, unrelated to me. So I think, yeah, just maybe getting, a blog going. Also, I definitely need to volunteer more. So yeah, get involved with at least some local charity or organization outside of work. I think would be personally good for me, and then also obviously good for my personal brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
The American Chemical Society has lots of opportunities.
Okay, yeah.
Heh.
All right, yeah, we can have a coffee chat about that, Dr. Walters.
Sounds good.
All right, with that, I think my computer is about to die, so I will go ahead and wrap up on my end. This was an excellent workshop. I thoroughly enjoyed learning about everybody's current personal brand and what your plans are for the future. Any final questions or thoughts? All right, thank you all so much and have a great night.
Thanks, bro. Thank you.
I never know if my pens are gonna be good or not. I think that's one of my new ones.